Okay, cool. All right, so I'm Alicia, one of the organizers here, but I do have a small business called Vice Versa Community. Mostly this morning, I really want to share a lot about the story of how we came to be. One reason, I'm not a great storyteller, so this is my time to practice that. And then two, you know, sometimes as entrepreneurs or just people, we think we're headed in one direction, and then the universe says, no, we're headed in another one. So this is an example of that. So this is Vice Versa Community. So in general, what we are is we're a social enterprise, and we're founded in the idea of designing spaces that are safe so that people feel comfortable sharing their stories, especially when they're being asked to share their story for an organization or an agency that might be using that story as a way of showing hey, we're amazing at what we do, and this individual is a product of that, right? What we want to help do is create not only a story that kind of shows the impact an organization is having, but in a way that is not in a way that is empowering, right? So not what's the word when you're we did this for you. We did everything. Why can't I think of the word right now? Savior complex. Thank you, my fellow social worker. So yeah, we're avoiding that savior story because it's really about the individual or the family or whoever that decided to use that service, even if it is a social service. So we kind of consult with agencies, and we also have a model of what that support looks like for the individual or family. So if a family is being asked to share on stage at a research conference, that support is going to look different. We're going to provide not only public speaking support, but also how do we get through, maybe we're triggered on stage. What can we do before we present, during presentation, and after to help us stay level and calm? Those are important things that we don't talk about. And then after the story is shared, how is that family or person or individual supported as well? Right now we see, usually there's not very much time for a story to be gathered, I guess is the right way. So usually an organization is asked hey, this news channel wants to check out your organization in 2 days. So the organization has to be okay, social workers, whoever, give me a family that you think would do this. And you're I don't know any families because I'm protecting my families. I don't want them to go through that, right? So it's not a good system right now. So that's what we do. And actually right now we are working with we're working with 2 organizations right now to pilot this. And then we have a hopeful 3 more that we're in conversations with to be piloting to kind of have that wrapped up in June. So hopefully maybe in July I can come back and share all the cool stuff that we did. But that was probably 3 minutes, right? So I'll go back through and just say real quick how we started. So I'm a social worker. I'm also a city planner. So I went back and got my master's degree in city planning when COVID started because I was frustrated as a social worker with the system, like we all are. Okay, I know that our environment affects our health. I worked with moms and babies. We don't have a lot of say over how our environment is built. And so I wanted to go into that space so that I could have more say from this perspective. So got my master's in city and regional planning and said, worked for that whole time actually with Dr. Jason Reese, who is an equity planner at OSU, and said, I believe in designing spaces that are for intergenerational use. And I call it Rise Up Communities, and this is something I worked on forever. So I was back in October. Who's familiar with Give Back Hack? Awesome. If you're not familiar with Give Back Hack, they're amazing, and they do lots of cool things, but once a year, this was in October, they have an event where they just bring a bunch of amazing people together that are interested in social enterprise, social impact work, and they say, all right, you have 60 seconds to pitch a new idea. So I couldn't do Rise Up Communities, right? So a new idea then you get voted on, then you have to get a team, and then you work the entire weekend with that team to validate your idea, practice your presentation, and then pitch it to like get grant funding, right? So you can test your product. So I was at a point with Rise Up where I was like, I need a break. I just want to go help, right? So lots of things had to fall into place. Ski had to babysit my kids for me so I could go. And then there was one person I knew there that was like, oh, what are you presenting, Alicia? And I'm like, no, I'm not presenting. I'm just coming to like be on someone's team. She's like, no, you need to present. And I'm like, So 20 minutes before we start, I'm like, all right, what's a new idea that I have, right? So and then I pitched this idea to like for a simulation of what it would be like to live in a community that was intergenerational, how we'd have the support. So that's the idea that actually I got a team around, and I was like, wow, now I'm doing this the whole weekend, leading a team. Okay, I was in love with that idea. Saturday, halfway through the day, all the mentors come and they say, Alicia, the change makers that you want to do this simulation, guess what? We don't think they're going to do it. And I'm like, what? That's the whole point, right? So the rest of the day, Travis is on my team. The rest of the day, I don't even remember really what we did. Okay, but Saturday night, we had no idea what we were really going to do. Sunday morning, I was reminded. Have you all heard of Broken English? Okay, Broken English. They put on performing arts shows once a month. That Saturday after Give Back Hack, I went to that show. It was their final one, and it reminded me of how vulnerable people are when they share their story, even if it's their art. So that inspired me to the next morning. I was like, that reminds me of all the times as a social worker in these organizations, in these spaces where we were asked to, get these stories, and this is a problem. My team really still didn't understand, which is okay. So we had to revalidate Sunday morning, right? And I had this amazing person she's been asked to share a story a million times. She came in and spoke to the team, and it was amazing. So then that day we pitched our new idea, and we got grant money, and now where we're at now. But I wanted to share that story because there was a lot of times where I could have said no. I could have been like, I don't have childcare, or whatever. It just would have been an easy excuse. There's a lot to do with childcare, but I could have said no, I'm really not pitching. I could have not really tried with my team. I could have just kept with the same idea that I had, but I didn't, and now I'm really enjoying it, and it's really impactful, and it's really going to make a difference. So I'm excited about it. So that's it. Oh, that's our website.
Thanks, Alicia. All right.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Oh, we're supposed to be caffeinated. Good morning, everyone. There we go. Yeah, no, it's all good. Energy is what I have. It's a pleasure to speak before you today. Found out that I was going to be speaking today, so excited to be here. Again, my name is Ernest Levert, Jr., originally from Dallas, Texas. We're kind of talking about the weather that's going on there. Been here in Columbus since 2009, went to Ohio State. Both my parents went to Ohio State, so I was determined not to go there, and ended up going there anyways. And here I get to share with you a little bit about what we've been doing for the last 8 years through the Royal Oak Initiative. Went to school for engineering and got out my degree in engineering, decided I'm not doing engineering. Went into finance for 5 years and just really recognized the power of planning as a mindset, right? So the Royal Oak Initiative, ROI for short, is a chess-based social enterprise. We use the game of chess. Real quick, who's played chess before? All right, raise your hand if you've never played chess before. Impressive, made it this far, excellent. You are my mission today. So our mission is to use the wisdom of chess to protect, heal, and build community by cultivating collective wellness, mindfulness, and critical thinking. Right? Originally, we started off as a chess-based mentoring organization. I've always been passionate about youth development and mentoring. And we started off working with some students in the Linden area, And then everyone was like, yo, chess, we need chess, we want chess. And just a testament, 90% of the room raised their hand and said they played chess before, right? So we've recognized chess as a really powerful tool for connecting people. It's a way to connect us in our basic human way of playing games, having fun, making ourselves vulnerable, learning how to lose, right? That's one of the biggest things we have to work on. Up here you see some of the pictures. There's really 4 ways that we serve in the community. One is what you see some up here called our Royal Oak Chess Clubs. For those, raise your hand if you're from Columbus, like if you've been in Columbus for at least 20 years, right? So some of y'all were here when chess was really big in Columbus. We were putting out national championship teams. Some of the best chess players in the country came from Columbus. And then there was a shift, it kind of fell off. So I stepped in and recognized that legacy to rebuild that, to make sure the next generation got access to this tool that is used to launch people into careers in technology and finance. A lot of really good chess players get offered jobs in the financial sector, building in technology infrastructure. We want to make sure that our young people got that access as well. So one thing we do is we go to schools, libraries, and recreation centers, and we launch chess programming. That was our vision, is every school, every library, and every recreation center, as much as you have access to unhealthy food and unhealthy entertainment, we want to make sure you have healthy food and healthy entertainment, healthy productivity as well. So we go to the schools, libraries, and rec centers. Right now we're running 10 sites a week. We have a team of about 8 to 9 coaches. Second thing we do is we go to youth serving organizations, companies, colleges, and we do what we call the Royal Oak Chess Experience. These are workshops, one time, where we really tie the game of chess to leadership elements, right? So this is kind of the public speaking element of what we do. And that's really how it started. We tie every letter in the word leader to a different chess piece. From the L for long-term thinking, and the king, this idea of moving with purpose, right? The E for education, the rook, that when you first start off in life, you don't really have a lot of options. You have to position yourself to get in the game, right? To position yourself to be successful. And if you are willing to learn, there's nothing that can stop you. We talk about attitude, that a lot of people see the pawn. Everyone ever heard the phrase, you're just a pawn in someone's scheme, just a political pawn. Those people don't play chess, right? Because if you're dismissing the power of a pawn, you don't know what that pawn can become. Every pawn has the power to become a queen, a bishop, a knight, or a rook, right? And focusing on the potential in every person you meet, you'll stop writing people off, right? And we just go through the rest of the letters and talk about how playing the simple game of chess where 3- and 4-year-olds are playing. It's so funny. I was at Eastmore Academy yesterday, and some of the kids are like, chess is for old people. And I go and talk to some people, they're like, chess is for babies. And I'm like, y'all, chess is for everybody, right? Everyone has a different version of it. And so, yeah, just ways of engaging it. The other thing we say is we bring a little bit of culture and flavor to the game to make sure we attract people who don't always feel welcome in the chess space, right? Who don't always feel welcome in competitive spaces, in what I call corporate chess, right? That every chess tournament you play in, it might cost $50, $60, $100 to play in that tournament, right? And if you are, I want to play, but I'm nervous about losing, you're not going to make that investment in yourself. So we wanted to remove some of those barriers so that people really can get access, not only to the game of chess, but to all opportunities. And that kind of, we were talking about the logo, that chess is, if you look at the paper, the cross on it, the trunk of the tree is a chess king. It's very small on purpose because chess is really a small part of what we do. It's just the foundation that we use to launch people into other areas. So that kind of touches on a couple other areas in which we serve. We also have a chess center. We call it a community space, the Cooperative Chess Cultural Center, also known as the Fork, like a fork in the road, like the fork you use to feed your mind. We've had that for a year now on Parsons Avenue, 80 Parsons Avenue. We do meetups every second and fourth Sunday, so everyone here is welcome to come out. Everybody here is welcome to come out. Everybody's welcome. Everyone's like, do I have to be good? Do I have to da-da-da? And most people really, if we're honest with ourselves, it's a fear of losing that keeps us from playing chess. And we want to eradicate that. In fact, that's one of our rules. If you come, you are expected to lose at least one time, right? And talking to a room of entrepreneurs, we know our relationship with failure has to be healthy, right? You're going to fail. And at some point, if you accept that, you embrace it, you'll learn from it. And you'll also realize that you are not your failures. That's one of the biggest things we are. Before you get to the lesson, you have to realize that you are not your failures, right? Your failures are just a path on to your destiny. And the last thing we do, which we're most excited about, is really launching our Chess Makers initiative. So the Chess Makers is this idea of giving young people, and when I say young, I'm talking about the young at heart, the people who are still in love with life and learning and growing, the opportunity to make their own chess boards, their own chess pieces, and to create their own chess merchandise, right? This idea, we were always just buying all these chess boards. We want to make sure every student has a chess board in their house, right? A lot of people don't have the tools, the access, or the exposure. So we want to make sure everyone got a chessboard. But we're like, why do we have to buy them? Why can't we create our own culture, right? So that's what we're in the process of launching right now, is expanding our space. Potentially, we're working on that, seeing what that looks like. But really creating a small chess-based makerspace where, and I don't think you'll see it in some of these pictures, but normally we have a whole like 3-table spread of chess merchandise artwork that people have created, right? Little things like someone was dipping different chess pieces in different colors, and as they move, you would see the moves on the board. It ended up looking like you're looking through a telescope at a constellation, but like this idea of learning to express yourself and tapping into the power of your mind, right? So I'll kind of end there. I think we're good on time. So I appreciate everyone with the opportunity to present. You are all welcome to come second and fourth Sundays from 4 to 8 p.m. We'd love to see you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ernest. Stay up here because they're going to hit you up. All right, rules of engagement for the Q&A, please.
Yep.
Mine, vice versa, community.com.
And everyone should have got a bookmark with the rules of chess on the back. The website is theroichess.org, short for the Royal Oak Initiative. Also, shout out to the Ohio State. I got my socks on today.
Nice.
Yep. Thank you for asking. So theroichess.org. Yep.
All right, I'll start it off. I'll get the energy flowing.
Yep.
Alicia, thank you so much for sharing that journey. It's a great testament to what I think we've overused the term pivot, but it just shows how you have to always kind of move where you can, which kind of ties into what you were saying, Ernest. Like sometimes you may be limited on the type of move you can make, but you have to put yourself where you can get so you can grow out of that. A lot of growth for you, Alicia. So giving us the backstory for what the original idea was and where it's at now, what does it actually look like when you engage with this new concept, with your current iteration of the business? How's that engagement piece?
Yeah. So a little bit about the model or the process.
Like, what's it look like for a client? Like, who is your client?
Yeah. So my client would be, any nonprofit or social enterprise type business that wants to get the message out about like the good, amazing work that they're doing, and they want to share that story because they want to get some more funding, whether it's from the Columbus Foundation or just like the community. So we would engage. So if it's like the U, I talk with Ski about, hey, what are your goals? What's kind of your strategic plan? What kind of story should we even develop? Does it make sense to just do a case study? Does it make sense to have just a story in a newsletter? Or is this like a big speaking engagement? And then from there, kind of dial in further about maybe we're coaching you on best practices. If you feel like you have the time to do this process, we'll coach you on best practices. An organization usually doesn't have the time to do that. And so we would come in and we would do kind of like the case management is what I'm calling it right now for the individual or the family, the coaching. And then we also right now put together some suggestions for how to use that story. One of the biggest things that we emphasize is compensating your storytellers. And so in this pilot phase where we have like 3 to 6 organizations that we're working with, we're covering we're covering that cost for the organization, which is really great. But we've also put together like best practices for how we think people should be compensated, if that answers your question.
So basically you are helping the business market the service that they're doing, but also protecting the storyteller.
Yeah.
That's giving that testimony.
Yeah, and kind of changing, vice versa is a really important name for us because this is a big part of what we do. We have some other things planned, but we're just like, we don't have to do things the way we've always done them, especially if they're harmful. So this is us flipping it on its head and doing what needs to be done. So.
Love it.
guess I'm inspired by the vision, and I'm just curious about the reality. It's like, so, after this, sort of got the funding that you were would be able to subsidize, how well do you feel like it's going to be received in the, organization?
Yeah, so great question. So there's a few things we're tackling here. So one, I had the same thought, like, I know this is a problem, I care, but if like the job is being done and like money is still coming into organizations, what really inspires them to like do this differently? I was really concerned about that. The more I like validated that concern, the more I got feedback from leaders in organizations that were like, one, we didn't even know this was a problem, and we don't want that to be happening. Like, we don't want our people to be worse off after doing this testimony, and then also there's a lot of organizations that have delayed doing their success stories because they've said it like makes me cringe because I don't know where to start with that, because I want to avoid the things that you're trying to avoid, and they've said that they would pay for it. There's also the Columbus Foundation is also putting out, they're starting to do more about like promoting compensating your storytellers. There's one organization I'm working with now that has asked me a few times our opinion on what should be compensated. So I know it's out there. I was surprised that people were willing. The last piece I'll say is that we are really trying to target the grant makers at the end of this to show the impact that it has, so that on the grant maker level, they can say, this is money to be used when you're doing your success story stuff. So it's not easy. Any advice, any thoughts, we'll take it, but good question.
I have a comment on what you just said. Lena Percy we met earlier. You noted that a couple people asked for your opinion. However, that's probably your expertise, that you should be compensated for that. And I say that because we've learned as an organization that we did too many things for free.
Yeah. So that's a good point. Right now with the Give Back Hack, we're in this MVP stage where we have this funding to test our product. And so the people who have asked are now my client within this, and so I'm kind of packaging that in all together. But you're absolutely right. Like, it is expertise, and to keep that mindset as an entrepreneur. Ernest.
I had one of the, I think that's really cool what you're doing. My experience is like Dungeons & Dragons,
Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons. Or something. Yeah.
But I think that's really just a phenomenal concept. But I was going to say, with the Makerspace edition, have you considered applying for grants from the Children's Fabrics and things like that? Because they have creative minority grants. It's aimed at individual artists and things like that, but making some of your kids to apply or something like that if they're making this.
I was not familiar with that. I'll definitely look into it. I know I was surprised that Joanne Fabrics had 3D printing materials in there. That was the only space I could find the green I was looking for. That actually like very similar to this green. So I'll definitely look into that. Thank you. Yep.
That's cool.
I'd like to also say, Ernest, I don't remember signing an NDA or media release, and I see my son on one of those pictures.
Oh.
No, I'm serious. It was a great experience, man. So how do you monetize? How do you make this perpetual, right?
Yeah, so one thing is we do fee for service when we go in and run the clubs at the different sites. That's one of the challenges we ran into, is that a lot of the chess programming and really any programming in Columbus that was volunteer driven wasn't always consistent over time. That as soon as that one volunteer, that one parent, that one counselor, one even custodian, if anyone's seen Queen's Gambit, once they transition out of the space, the whole program falls apart. Or if there's a leader in the space that really advocates for the programming, once that leader transitions, the whole programming falls down. So part of what we've done is we say we'll come in as a team, as an organization, but all of our staff are also compensated as well. We're also donation-based, and we have a co-working space. So the backstory on the Fork, the Cooperative Chess Cultural Center, was I'd go to Uppercut Coffee all the time. For those who are familiar, I think I have the shirt on. But people are like, do you own this space? You're there all the time. But there's also a lot of chess players in that space as well. So we just started doing meetups at first every week, and I was like, this is way too much. So every couple weeks, and then the space across the street opened up. And so I was like, this is great, because we actually outgrew the coffee shop. We had a chessboard on every table, 30, 40 people coming. And so now across the street, we have our events there, but also it's a co-working space during the day. So people can get in there between $10 to $30 a month to co-work. People can rent this space out for community events if they need to as well. So that's another way we've been able to monetize, and then we accept donations as well. This year we are really leaning into grants and those other expansive capacity building funding streams. Previously we've been pretty scrappy, bootstrapping in a way, but also working with our partners directly to fund the services. We haven't traditionally charged the participants to play. We're open to that, but that's one of the barriers we ran into historically, so we try not to dabble in that space. So thank you for asking.
You also mentioned that you do something in the realm of like corporate training around. Talk a little bit more about how that works.
Yep, absolutely. So basically this idea of sharing your story and leadership training and leadership development. We have worked with groups of people, leadership programs. We've come in and done workshops and speaking engagements. And it's pretty fun. We've gone to colleges as well. And it's a really fun, immersive experience. I always share with others the way I would want to be shared with. I like being involved. I like getting my hands on stuff, engaging people to different modes of learning. And so we'll bring out the chessboards and we talk about how we learn about ourselves as people in community and as leaders through the game of chess. So those are fun. People have loved those. They range from a group of 10 people. The largest group I've worked with was 70. And with a team, we could do even more than that. Yeah, so everything is really built to be self-sustaining. So we have the co-working space. Businesses can get memberships to there as well for up to 20 people. So that sustains that the co-working space. When we go in and we contract with sites, libraries, rec centers, schools, those are self-sustaining as well. Each of those powers their own. And then all of the speaking engagements experiences, the goal is to reach as many people as possible, but that also brings revenue in to kind of fill in the gaps from our website, our marketing, our telecommunication abilities, our materials, our equipment. We got these big $700 jumbo chess boards we take to events, and we want to be able to expand those as well. So everything goes back into this idea of using the wisdom of chess. Protection is really important for me about making the space feel safe as possible, right? Most people, and I'm going to say this, if you come up and talk to me about chess, I don't want to hear how good you are. The first thing people do is like, hey, I'm Rebecca, I'm Samuel, and I suck at chess. Like, stop doing that, right? That decreases the safety of the space, right? Engage in your assets. So all the things we do is around this idea of how do we protect the space, how do we give people space to heal, and then how do we build the vision and the dream together. Thank you for asking.
Well, it is 10, and I said I was going to be punctual, but this is two very engaging topics. We do have a last question that we ask all of our presenters. What can we as a community do for you? And while you ponder on that, I want to remind everyone that you can follow up with these guys on our website, 1millioncups.com. Look up the Columbus chapter. I'll pull that up while you guys think about that question. And feel free to engage. You'll be able to see the video from today. You can engage with the past presenters that we've had. And you can also see the upcoming stuff that we have going on. But feel free to hang out after they answer these questions and engage with entrepreneurs. We're also going to give away a little bit of swag again this week. But if you have to go, by all means, please do what you have to do. And
all right, so real quick, if you go to our website, viceversacommunity.com. Most importantly, there's a section that has some surveys on it that are going to go towards our data for the Columbus Foundation to show how often this happens. So it's about our experience, because I might be working with 4 to 6 agencies, but that's just 4 to 6, when there's a way more experiences that are like this. So go on the website, explore it. Right now, that's really it. Follow us on stuff. That's it for me right now. You have more like timely
tactics.
Yeah.
I love what you said. A follow is always helpful on social media. We have a section on our website called Get Involved. So there's 3 easy ways to get involved. One is to spread the word about launching a site. If you have a child in your life or young people in your life who are out of school, and ask them if they have a chess program. A lot of times they do. They often don't have a mentoring component to it, right? We don't just focus on on chess skill development, but really life skill development. So we'll go in at lunchtime and play chess with the students as well, which is really fun. Builds relationships, you know. One thing that is new that we're excited about is we love finding different ways to incentivize the students to come over to the chess table. So if your companies have any kind of merchandise, any kind of, they like stress balls or stickers, whatever, it's a great way to get your word out about your organization, but also it's a cool way to reward the students for exhibiting courage. So that's been pretty fun. We'll give out candy, we'll give out notepads and pens, and they'll take anything, right? So that's an easy way. And then I'll say come to the center.
Yes.
You know, we do pride ourselves on centering the folk who are most marginalized. That's a very important part of what we do. Coming to the space, interact, engage, and let's build a community that engages in critical thinking, right? Where we understand what we're looking at, we can break it down, synthesize it, and then put it back out in the best way possible. 80 Parsons.
Right across from Uppercut.
Yeah, it's like Parsons and Oak Street, Parsons and Broad Street, right there. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we actually just, the store next to us consolidated, so we actually expanded into the space next door. So we're building out, we really want it to feel like a cooperative. We really want to build it as a co-op. So we're going to look at what that space could be most utilized for. So that will be exciting. So I'd love to show anyone around the space, get any ideas and see how anyone would like to co-work. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Best audience.
Woo! Hang out and engage with the entrepreneurs. And before you
We
guys
have to
move
take our
away,
picture.
I'm going to give you your 1 million cups. I presented cup.
There we go. I love that. Cheers.
Cheers. Gotta get in a picture that we're cheersing.
You're right.